Hi everybody, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, we had a cruise ship that was hit by such severe weather that it had to pull into an emergency port for emergency repairs for 3 days. Speaking of repairs, a cruise ship that has been kind of plagued with issues lately has now said, yep, we're going to have to shorten one of our voyages because we got to go in for dry dock repairs. And so if you want to cancel your cruise, you can. And then we have another ship also has another outbreak of Norovirus. Cruise ships aren't immune to them because it's happening, it seems, everywhere lately. So first off, let's talk about Norovirus and the outbreaks that have been going on. We had 5 in December. Well, we already now have 2 in December already. One on a Holland America ship, and now even the luxury cruise lines, the small ships that only hold 700 and some passengers, now have an outbreak on board. The Silver Ray, it's got 8% of the people on board have Norovirus right now, and that's a very tiny luxury ship. So if it can happen on a tiny luxury ship like that, it can definitely happen on all the other larger cruise ships that pack in 5,000 and 6,000 passengers. So again, the easiest way to help resolve that is to wash your hands, and especially going into the buffet, and use hand sanitizer, etc. We know how to try and fight it, but just as a warning, if you're going on a cruise recently, this is going around right now. We have outbreaks, by the way, all over Canada. Ottawa has a big outbreak of norovirus. We have one in Vancouver. Florida has a big outbreak of norovirus. So it's not just happening on the cruise ships. It's happening in a lot of different places. Next, let's talk about a cruise ship that was making its way from Holland over to Norway when it got caught in a gathered up storm, one that was supposed to be smaller and just grew. It grew to such a severity that it said the ship was rocked by over 100-mile-per-hour winds and 35-foot swells in the ocean. So a pretty severe storm, considering that the Viking V is a small cruise ship as well, right? It got caught in these waters. It had to make an emergency stop, and apparently there was so much damage done to the ship that they're staying in that port for 3 days while they're there, because they need to make all these repairs and make sure that the ship is still safe. Now, it was originally on a 12-night sailing, and of course a couple of the stops are going to have to be missed. So what are they doing to help passengers and compensate passengers for this incident? Well, what they're doing is they're giving them their Silver Spirits drink package. I guess that's an upgraded package from the one you already get on board Silver Sea, to the value of like $25 a night per guest. And if people had already purchased it, they're refunding it back to everybody. So basically the upgraded drink package is already, everyone's going to get it for free on this trip. And they're also going to give a future cruise credit voucher for everybody on board for 60% of the fare. Considering they're only losing 3 days, but they had to go through a storm, I guess that's a pretty good compensation. 60% of your money back, plus you get the extra drink package. I think Viking has done a very good compensation package for people on board. Now, people on board did say that they were nervous, and you have visions of that ship that got caught out when their engines conked out and were rocking in the ocean, and that people were being helicoptered off when they finally got one of the engines working and were able to get back to sea. It was so close to the rocks. That brings vision when you're talking these small ships like that, losing in these waves, because they get rocked a lot more than, say, an Oasis class ship would, or one of the Celebrity Edge class ships, Norwegian Primas. Those kind of ships can sustain these waves a lot better than these smaller ships that only hold a few hundred passengers. So I'm glad everybody, no injuries reported so far. That's the really good news. Next, we have a cruise ship that is saying, yeah, sorry, we're going to have to shorten one of our itineraries because we have to go in for emergency repairs. And but before I get there, let me just invite you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. You want to keep up to date with everything going on in cruising, from the ship delays to the emergencies that are going on, the storms that happen and what the compensation is, to new cruise ships coming online, to suite reviews, to balcony reviews, to dining reviews. We're going to be covering it all here on the channel and keeping you as best informed we can. I hope to make it as entertaining as I can as well, even though some of the stories are pretty hard to hear sometimes, but necessary to hear. And I hope you'll join us here. And again, really, really do appreciate it. Okay, well, the Regal Princess, one of my favorite ships, is actually had been having some issues lately, right? It had a fire in a generator room, and it ended up canceling 3 weeks of sailings in a row for repairs on its engines as well. They had to replace 2 different generators. It's been plagued with some issues since last October and it did its transatlantic cruise coming this way. Well, guess what? The next cruise that they're doing in April is a 24-night grand adventure, and it is, no, it's not 24 nights anymore. It's 20 nights. They're going to cut it short by 4 nights and cancel some of the ports along the way because they need to go in for dry dock once it gets there. Emergency dry dock for emergency repairs. Now, they do say the ship is quite safe. It's been inspected. It is safe for travel. Don't worry about that. However, if you remember, I talked about the Regal, once these incidences kept happening, that they were doing changes to their itineraries. And one of the changes was they canceled one port and they're doing overnights in Roatan. And during those overnights in Roatan, they're doing repairs on the cruise ships. Well, if you look at the next sailing, which sets sail on Sunday coming up, they still have that overnight in Roatan, and it's all because they're still doing repairs on that ship. And now they're going to do that transatlantic, and when did that fire occur? On the last transatlantic. And I'm thinking, if I'm on a transatlantic, the last thing I want is some kind of fire on my cruise ship. So I'd be a little bit nervous about it, but I'm quite sure, the engineers, it's been sailing, there's been no fires, etc. So, it's just a mental thing in our heads that we're thinking about this stuff. Hey, last transatlantic, this happened. What happens if it happens again? If you're paranoid a little bit, like I can be sometimes, but yeah, they're going to shorten it. Now, the compensation is basically they're saying you can cancel and get your 100% refund right now, including all your shore excursions. And if you book your flights through Princess, you get all that money back too. If you cancel and booked your own flights, you get that $200 per person to adjust your flights, which would never cover the cost of flights back to the United States from the UK. I don't think I could ever find a flight for $200. But they're also offering, if you decide to go on this cruise, that you will get 4 days prorated. So anything that was, out of 24 days, you'd get 4 of those days back. And you would get a 25% future cruise credit that needed to be booked before the end of November of this year. And so they are offering some compensation. Now, it is a 24-night sailing, so they're still getting 20 nights of cruising. If you booked your flights through Princess, they will adjust your flights automatically, etc. So it's not a huge hit on that length of a sailing, but it is another sign where, hey, they've got to get these repairs done, and it needs more repairs apparently than just going into Roatan for overnights. Well, let me know in the comments down below. Do you see, a lot of ships breaking down? We just had the Carnival Conquest break down last week. How many ships are breaking down these days? And by the way, the Regal Princess is now a decade old, 10 years. The older they get, the more chances are things are going to go wrong. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.